Hello, Twitter demons. It's your boy, and I'm back. For those of you who don't know, I recently got absolutely roasted on Twitter uh, after I was critical about a website that inspired this entire channel. And so I wanted to make a video to address a lot of the things that people were saying in terms of uh, the helpful content update, why sites got hit, and ultimately what you can do to improve your content, and so that you can actually start creating helpful content. And it's kind of wild because if you find the thread on Twitter, and I've heard this for maybe a week or so now, everyone seems to focus on the fact that I mentioned she was missing H1s. And there's no structure in her headings and everything. And so a lot, a lot of people are like, well, H1s don't rank. They don't help you rank, or that's not all she needs. Of course, there are many things in SEO you need to rank. H1s are just not just the only part of the puzzle, as it seems like some of you insinuated that I insinuated, or I don't know, something crazy. Anyways, there seems to be this notion that H1 headers and headers in general aren't that important. So I'm actually going to dive into the science, and I'm going to break it down and detail exactly why not only H1 but headers are so important to your content that it might be the missing piece that you're missing from actually generating helpful content. So, without further ado, here we go. Let's dive in. Boom. Make that all big. Let's go. So, I'm actually going to be diving into some bit of a psychology lesson. We're going to get into the cognitive psychology and the neuroscience behind how people parse content, how they read content, and what makes that content enjoyable for them, aka helpful. All right, let's dive in. So, structure, structure, headings, they all play a huge important part in how we read, parse, and understand content. But not only that, also how we digest it, right? Because if you don't actually digest the content that you're reading, then not really reading. So pull up my notes here. Okay. So we kind of got to take it back all the way back to when you were in grade school. When your teachers had you do an outline or structure some kind of content format back when you were a kid, that wasn't just because they wanted you to do extra work, right? It's because it's actually crucial to how our brains come across content and how we use that information in a way that our brains can handle. And so, what it comes down to, and something the first topic I'm going to talk about is our working memory. So, your brain only has so much information it can take before the other information that came at the beginning starts to fall off, right? So, it's basically like a workspace for your brain. And everybody has this. And so, when you're reading content, think of it as like sticky notes, right? You can only have so many sticky notes before all of a sudden you can't see any more sticky notes. And so when you structure content, H1s, H2, so on and so forth, you're telling your audience's brain, hey, here's this information. Here is how it's structured. Now your brain can break it down into little compartments, right? And so you can digest those pieces of content in little bits at a time. And the reason why this is important is it helps with the working memory limits like I said, your brain's workspace, and you can only hold about 4 to 7 chunks at one time. Like I said before, that first or second chunk of content information falls off. And then it also tells the organization, the mental organization, of how that content is structured, but that also lets the reader know what to expect. Because when readers come to a website and they're reading a blog, studies have shown that they don't actually straight up dive in and read line by line the content on that page. What they do is they actually scan the page because they're looking for either a specific piece of information or they're looking to see if that entire page is going to give them the information that they want, right? And so they're not just going to come read the first line of your blog and start going line by line. That's not how people read. Without structure, you're basically juggling all those random bits of text in letting your readers try to figure out by themselves what's going on, right? And so it looks exhausting when you come to a website and there's no headers, there's no structure, there's, AI generated content, there are ads. All of these have a compounding effect, right? And so, sure, are headers the big picture? What if they are? And then we're going to talk about mental friction. So without structures, readers must do detective work to find important points, exhausting and inefficient. And in short, to summarize that, your writing is a giant block of text. Your readers' brains have to do extra detective work, figure out what's important and what's not. And that's called mental friction, right? And so when you create mental friction with your content, that's not helpful, not to you or the reader or anybody, quite frankly. Less friction, more happy, engaged readers. All right. Now we're going to get into the actual science. So let's talk about chunking. A lot of you might have heard this when it comes to AI. AI and our brains kind of work exactly the same when it comes to chunking information. Take pieces of information from here, from there, from anywhere, and then we put it together and we kind of get the overall picture and we know what's going on, right? So chunking groups smaller items into meaningful units. Think how phone numbers are easier to remember in sections. If I had a phone number that was, I don't know how I can do this visually. As okay, 8342179. Wait, hold on, I still did it. 8342179. That's like what? But if I broke it down in 8342179, right? It's chunking, right? And our brains process information this way a lot easier and a lot faster. So what your headers are doing is you're basically chunking your text and your content. Each heading signals, hey, next up is this topic, right? But also what it does is when your readers come to that heading, you are prefacing them with their already gained knowledge that they've had before. They bring that up in some part of the brain, going through a vortex or something. I don't know. I actually don't even know if that's a real word. But it triggers something to where then they start recalling. They bring up memories to prepare them for that paragraph, and this happens like in a second, right? And so without these headers, they don't have that. And so you're kind of just not really leading them on a path. There's no journey. They're kind of just making it up as they go, right? And so, oh, all right. So cognitive load, the mental cost. There's a high load when you don't have any headers. Without headers, readers waste energy figuring out structure. By the time they reach your actual message, they're tired. Low load headers. Headers save readers from mental guesswork. They can invest brain power in understanding your message instead of trying to decipher it or organize it themselves. You're saying, hey, listen, don't worry about the organization. Don't worry about the structure. I'm going to take care of this for you. And then all your reader has to do is read and let their brain do all the stuff in the background on their own. There it is. So now when it comes to load, I want to talk about something a little bit more in depth and talk about the cognitive load theory for a minute. Don't worry, sounds heavy, but it's actually basically what I've just been saying. Your brain has limited capacity, so the way that information is presented can lighten or worsen the burden. Cognitive psychologists break down the mental effort or load into three types: intrinsic load, which is the inherently complexity of the material itself. Some topics are just hard, whether we like it or not. The second one is extraneous load, the way the information is delivered. Unnecessary complexity or structure or distractions add extra load that doesn't need to be there. And the third is germane load, the effort used to process and make sense of the material. This is the good kind of load, the mental work that actually builds understanding. And this is the mental load that is going to generate helpful content for your users that are coming to your website, right? So good writing, design, and structure aim to minimize the extraneous load and channel that saved effort into germane load. So we want to make it easier to read and let their brain do all the processing to actually grasp and understand all that information. Now, guess what contributes to extraneous load? Disorganized, unstructured text, right? Without any headers. I would say even without even internal links, right? And so if you don't have H1s, H2s, H3s, I would say my advice would be that for a minimum, each page should roughly at least have H1 and H2 and an H3 somewhere in there, right? Because that will give you a clear structure, but it also leads the way for you to actually generate content that can fill up that page in a way where you're not just talking about the same thing in one wall, right? Because if you view headers as like the essay outline, right? You're not going to be talking about that same thing because you're going to feel weird trying to put it all in just one, right? You're going to break it down into subheadings and you're like, okay, well, now I have to talk about something else because I just talked about that. Now, when you don't have any headers, I'd assume that it'd be kind of easy to just keep rambling. And unfortunately, that's what some of the content that I'm seeing in this whole Twitter thing is happening. There's just walls of text. There's no organization. There's no structure. You're not leading users down a journey, right? You're not leading their brain to, hey, we're flowing. This is the information you want to know. This is the information you want to save, so on and so forth. All right, so the science of signaling. There we go. All right, so let's talk about attention. In reading research, there's something called signaling. So this is when your text literally signals the reader what the key points are. Headings are the strongest signals you can give. Let me repeat that. When it comes to signaling, headers are the strongest signals that you can give for content on a page. Let me do it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do it again. In fact, there's eye tracking studies that have actually done, and I'm going to link all this. I'll include links. They've actually done eye tracking studies where they will track a user's eye movement to see what they look at when they go to a page, what they pay attention to, and what they care about. And guess what happens every single, well, not every single time. Not talking absolutes. Usually what would happen is when a user goes to a page, they don't just simply just start reading. They scan up and down and they look exactly at the headers, right? And guess which header they look at first? I see the cogs working. Now you're like, huh, maybe H1s are a little more important than I thought. And you would be right. Oh, I lost my page. Okay, so eye tracking studies, they've actually proven that readers often scan headings to decide if the page is relevant and if it's the content they want to see, because we're all busy. They don't have all day to just sit there and read something they're not looking for. And it's not just about hooking them. Once your headings have guided the reader to the right section, they're called priming the context. So like I said, their brain pulls up the information they knew before. So it says, okay, hey, in this part, we're going to be why chunking is good for memory. So they're automatically paying a closer attention to that chunk, right? You're setting the context up for the content that's about to come next. What does this do? It also reduces extraneous load, right? And so every single section, you have a chance to reduce that extraneous load and make the content more enjoyable and helpful for your readers. The funny thing is, teachers have used this technique for years. Textbooks, big bold chapter titles, and subtitles. But the authors weren't just being fancy. They're literally leveraging basic psychology to keep your brain engaged. The same logic applies to your blog post, your website, your product description, or literally any text that you write. At the end of the day, nobody wants to do extra mental gymnastics, especially when they're reading, and especially if they're supposed to be reading content that's helpful to them, right? You don't want to make it work for them. And there's like I said, there's also a lot of other things that go into this, such as the look of your website, the design, your images. These all play big parts, right, into how that extraneous load looks like on your user. All right, next one up is memory. Here, all right, memory and retention benefits. So, sure, you're hooking the reader is great, but you also want them to remember what they read, right? Because this also increases the chances that they might sign up for a newsletter, or they might want to come back and read the next piece of content that you have. And yeah, what happens when I look at I stop looking at my notes, and my brain's just like, oh, we don't work anymore. Cool, love that. But you want them to remember what they read. Multiple studies in educational psychology found that when text is presented through headings, people remember more of it, both main ideas and details. There's one classic experiment where they took two groups of students and gave them identical content. Group A got a version with headings that spelled out each subsection's focus. Group B got the same text, but as one continuous block. Guess which group failed more on the quiz? I'm sure you know. So this is chunking and signaling, right? And tells your brain, gives it visual cues to work with itself. Say, hey, this is the content. And then when they're parsing that content again, visually or in their brain or however, right? it's a more enjoyable experience all around. Not only was it enjoyable for them to read, it's also enjoyable for them to think about. And that sounds pretty corny, but I think that's really, the dream of content is right there. Um, a lot of studies have also found that headings also have with metacognition, a fancy word for knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know. The heading is clear. You can decide, I'm good with section one. I've already known this. This is kind of my expertise, whatever. Okay, on to the next. This means that you're more actively engaged with the material that you're reading. And active engagement tends to boost retention. You know what else it boosts? SEO rankings. So you're writing a how-to guide, tutorial, or any piece where you want the reader to truly absorb something. Headers are your best friend. You're giving them natural mental landmarks and boundaries so that they can come back later and say, wait, that was in section one, right? That's basically free recall cues baked into your content structure. Well, what more could you want than that, right? And which one would be the most important? Probably that H1. Real world impact on user experience. So, to kind of sum all this up, one, scanning behavior. Humans scan web content. We only read line by line with good reason. Engagement. Well structured content increases time on page, reduces bounce rates, and increase click through rates. Increase leads in terms of whether it's a newsletter or you have some other action that you want them to take. Increases user satisfaction. Readers find what they need faster. They're more likely to return. And these all compound against each other into SEO benefits. Search engines measure user satisfaction in a lot of different ways. I mean, there's over 2,000 ranking factors, right? And so when you take all this into account, how they all tie into each other, and mind you, you have to take a holistic approach to SEO, right? Everything ties into everything else, and missing one piece of the puzzle could compound other things that you're also missing, and then together you have a disaster. And next thing you know, you're not ranking. And I think that's what happened to probably a big majority of sites that got hit with the helpful content update. Now, okay. We're here, baby. We're out here. Okay. Originally, when back in September of last year, I wasn't even gonna start a YouTube channel. I was gonna keep being an introvert, do my freelancing, an agency side work, and I had no motivation to ever be on YouTube or be in the public space at all. But the website that started this all is Charleston Crafting, which is the one I'm getting absolutely pooped on Twitter right now. Probably literally as we speak right now. I didn't know about her before. I'd never heard about her. Never heard of her website. All I knew is that there was a Google Creators conference, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird." I didn't know that it was coming up, but I had seen an article that it ended, so I went and looked it up on Twitter. And I'm usually never on Twitter. And you look at my Twitter, not something I care for. And then I saw her talking about how a Morgan, that is, from Charleston Crafted, how her website got killed and blah, blah, blah. You can go see it for yourself. And I saw other business owners commenting under her tweet and other tweets of, mind you, she's not the only one that went to the Google Creators Conference, saying there's no hope for us. There's no one to help us. Google has killed our businesses. Nothing can be done. And it broke my heart. I swear to God it did, because and I've been doing this a long time, and I have a lot of knowledge in the space, and I don't see any of the sites that I saw. I didn't see any of them that were like absolutely perfect and actually deserve to say this. There is always something that can be done. It's very rare that an SEO is going to come to a website whose rankings are tanking and it's going to be perfect. And so I thought to myself, well, wait, maybe the other voices in SEO are too loud out there, and that I need to stop being an introvert and trying to get out into the space. So here we are. So I'm actually going to go further into diving into exactly how H1s and header structures and the structure of your content can be a game changer. Is that the last slide? Okay. Oh, sorry. Practical tips. Let me close out the presentation here, and then we'll get into the practical. To actually showing you. So tips. Start with the descriptive H1. Use subheadings for topics. Keep headings consistent. Make headings scannable. And mind you, I'm going to send out links to all the things that I've researched and gathered for this, and I will include that as well. All right, here we go. All right, so let's pull this up. Okay. Google Chrome just crashed on me. That's cool. Love that for me. All right. So, oh, yes, that's, she changed it. Good job, Morgan. Yes. All right. Oh, baby, we're cooking. Oh, wow, man, that's great. Let me turn on a. So, let's get into why headings are so important. Morgan, I'm not sure what if it was me or somebody else. I don't know, but I'm glad to see that you you have an H1 now. Please tell me that. How it is. Oh my God, Morgan, you have. And she fixed the hierarchical structure. Oh man, this guys can't even see it anymore. Oh, there it is. Okay. So before, Morgan didn't have an H1. She didn't in her her first one was actually a had H3, and it was all out of order, and it really didn't help her at all. But this is a great win. This is a great Morgan. I am so happy for you. I can't even tell you. Dude, I don't even know where I was gonna start. I wasn't expecting to come and have it fixed. This is great. So I I don't have I don't have. Oh yeah, I do. All right, so okay, not important. All right, let's just use this page. This works. So woodworking plants, and this is under her main header navigation. Woodworking. So headers also help in not headers, navigation bars and navigation um, contained within your website, such as like breadcrumbs, also help with what we were talking about before and when it comes to H1s and how it helps users parse and structure content that's on the page, right? Because as humans, we categorize everything, put everything into certain blocks, if you will, right? And so you want to give a visual appearance that supports that. And so we just took the header navigation here, Charleston crafted. All she has to do it yourself, woodworking, popular post, blog about. And so just from that, I don't really know what this website is about, right? I mean, I do because I've spent like over 20 hours on just this website alone. But see how different this looks as compared to sort of one of these blogs. Oh, Morgan, you've been putting in some work. Yes, love it. Absolutely. This is great. This is um yeah, shoot, killed half my video. Um I don't really have another. Okay, let's go to this guy. This guy is something special. This guy, if you even mention his website, he's going to threaten you with a lawsuit. Whether I could come here and say it was the best thing in the world, and he's talking about libel and slander. Um, which is crazy. But let's go into his. So his website, from the looks of it, does not have an H1. So actually, now I think he's going to become my example. So let's see what he has going on in the head. Chris Angel just got Chrome just break again. All right. So as you can see, he doesn't. Oh, great example. He doesn't have an H1. Now, just how unhelpful this is, right? He literally has a header that's just by Chris Snowgrove, by TJ Small, right? And that's this little portion here, which I don't think he's working on this anymore. But remove this little link to the author's bio from here. It doesn't need to be here. Neither do these. Each one of these links on your page feels link juice, right? It's one more like say on a page you have 10 links, right? Every link uses 1/10 of page juice, right? Every link going to another internal page, yes, passes that page juice, but you're giving so much power to the author page and the category page from your home page because you're already linking to that blog. But now here you are linking to the author page, category page multiple times on the same page, right? And so each of those links to the blogs, they're just diluted. You're not sending any power, right? And then um, uh, the anchor text is also just not descriptive by Chris Snowgrove. Like these headers don't help a user. One Star or the second header, Star Trek series that could save the franchise. At one PG-13 sci-fi movie, uh, largest copyright snake on record discovered. YouTube and then trending. I don't have enough data to correlate uh, definitively, but somebody who might have more data may be able to. Well, I have a strong inkling that the helpful content update and those who are affected, I believe there's strong correlations between lack of headers, lack of internal linking strategy, lack of navigation, actual content segmentation. So breaking out that can be done with categories, right? So here you have geek topics. Nobody even knows what that means. Opinions, streaming, and trending. Now, all three of those are completely different topics, right? But geek topics, all movies and TV, sci-fi, anime, science. If nobody had seen this before, are they gonna know what kind of content that they're gonna find or expect within this website? No, they're not. I mean, yeah, sure, they could see by the titles and everything that it's probably about TV shows and movies and maybe some nerdy stuff. But when I click on this opinion, like right now, I have no clue what I'm gonna find there. So let's see. I do like that. Latest giant freaking opinions. Also, see back to the I don't even know what it's called or if there's an actual rule. I'm just gonna call it the 1/10 rule. Each one of these links takes power away from this page, right? And so these the power going to these blogs is diminished, right? You want a strong link category page to that blog to actually give it some juice, or it's not going to have any power behind it. Also, users, this is on a 2K monitor. That's a lot of scrolling. By the time they get down to here, they're not reading anything. They're ready to leave your website. The opinions. Okay, so now let's see. Now let's look at it from Google's point of view, right? So the last topic that I'm going to touch on that a lot of people seem to think or give Google way too much credit to be able to actually understand the content that's on a website when it's being crawled by Google, right? Everybody assumes that Google is this big, powerful conglomerate. I mean, and they are, that knows exactly what's on the page, what the content's about, and the truth of the matter is that they have a logistical problem to actually be able to accomplish that, right? They have to crawl and index millions of sites every day, and then there's a lot of users out there that expect them to just know what that content's about. At the end of the day, it's still a robot that's coming to your website and um, seeing, as it were, the content that's on the page, right? And so when Google bot comes to this website right here, give me give me 1 second. Hector, get inside. Hector, get inside. Good Lord, dog. Okay. When Google comes to this website, Googlebot comes to this website, giant freaking opinions, meter experts, then just a bunch of links, bunch of titles. Now, looking at this and what we went over before, does it look like this is chunking the context or giving any chunking the content, or is it giving any context to the reader if all they saw was this on the left hand side? No. So why do you assume that it would for Googlebot? If you can't see, if you use this Chrome extension and you can't clearly define what each heading is about, and you can't know what to expect under each of those headings, then you are failing at creating helpful content. And now, this isn't even going into the actual content that's on the page, right? The content that you're writing. This is just about structure. I haven't even gotten into actual writing content and stuff like that, which I will, because now I've seen such a focus on websites from the helpful content update that this is going to be something that I'm going to focus on more. And to kind of give my knowledge and expertise to try and turn this around for some other people who may be in the same boat. Because that's all I want to do. I just want to help people. So, bam, that H1 opinions not helping anybody. Doesn't tell Googlebot anything. Doesn't tell me. It's not telling Google. Most certainly not telling his readers. Star Wars cast by news. See, there's no structure here, right? We go from H1s to fives to six. This this isn't, and then down here, three, two. This is not how humans parse content, right? And so, and you can clearly see it on the page, right? Because there's a lot be broken down here. Are we seeing any of that? No. I mean, hold on. Is it? Yeah. I mean, he has it. Actually, just yeah. Okay. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. See, if I come to the website and I'm looking at the technical structure of the website, right? I'm looking at the technical structure of the website as an SEO, right? Because most users wouldn't see this. This looks fine to a user, right? Because it's just like a regular website, right? This is exactly how Google bot is seeing it, right? And so Google's coming in here like, okay, they got stuff about cast news, and then wait, hold on, wait, now we're back to opinions, and then series, movies. This is just all over the place, and then we have trending at the bottom. I'm not even sure if those are the same trending articles that are on the homepage. Uh, when you don't use headings, especially H1s. I mean, he does have a H1 here. Good. Star Wars. Well, no, it's not a good heading. Not a good H1, but he does have one. That's what's good that he actually has one. Um, when you don't structure and present the content on the page in a user-friendly, user-designer way, you are failing at creating helpful content. A lot of people think it's just about the words you write and how you write and how good you write. Absolutely categorically false. If you are not presenting it in a way where your user's brain can use it, you have failed at creating helpful content. And that's probably why he's had to shut down this website. Because, fortunately, someone didn't help him out. Or maybe they did. This guy's pretty abrasive on Twitter. After today, I hope I never hear or see it from him again. But I can only imagine that Ben is rude to other people. So, yeah, that's all I got. Couple announcements. I am hosting. Let me backtrack. After every Google ranking algorithm update, I'm going to be doing a live. I'm going to go live for a couple days afterwards. And so the reason why I'm going to do this is because I want to open the door and the opportunity for any business owner or website owner whose website might have gotten hit and they need immediate help. Someone to talk to, someone come in, not going to charge them any money, and say, hey, my rankings have tanked overnight. is there somewhere I can go for help? I'm going to be that guy. So whenever there's a ranking update, follow us on all my socials. And we'll be posting when I'm going live and everything. And you can come and get help if you need it. If you don't, send somebody else. All right. Well, I hope this was educational. I hope it helped. There's a lot more that I have to say about the topic I want to say, but I'm already getting to an hour here. Yeah, and I suck at YouTube, so really hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.